host, Leo Knighton Tallarico, and we have a special guest and a special show today. Alan Steinfeld will be back with us today. Alan Steinfeld is author of Making Contact, Preparing for the New Realities of Extraterrestrial Existence. And it's a really good book. I definitely recommend it. Again, Making Contact. Alan Steinfeld, Steinfeld. And he'll be on in a few minutes, maybe about quarter past the hour, something like that. And then Deborah Knighton Tallarico will be on toward the end of our show, and she'll bring us a really nice meditation to kind of get us deep into connecting with our souls after we have done a lot of talking today and exploring different realities. That's a lot of what is happening on our earth right now. For the human family, we are evolving. We are both revolutionary and evolutionary right now. The last time there was a big shift like this was in the 60s and 70s. It was when Uranus was conjunct Pluto in Virgo. And that brought on the 60s revolution, 60s and 70s. And everything was shaking up. And the old system, people even talked about the old system's not working anymore. And that thing slowed down after that. We got into the 80s, Ronald Reagan. And 90s, we had a little more evolutionary push again as the internet age and the computer age started blossoming in the world, breaking open. Then things got kind of silent for a while again. And now it is happening again. Our consciousness is being pushed to expand. We are being challenged and inspired to evolve, to transform our consciousness, to transform our lives. And a lot of times, just like in the 60s and 70s, there's a lot of ugly things going on in the world too. Vietnam War, race riots, you name it. There was a whole lot going on that really was shaking up reality for us all. And that will happen. That's happening again now. Things are shaking up again now. And you can see ugly things are happening in the world again. We got war. We got economy. That's not the thing to concentrate on. We did our best not to concentrate on that back then either. Although we did have to work with the things that were unjust in our world and in our system. And people are doing that again today. So consciousness is really what the foundation for all of the evolution is. Everything going to happen on the planet has a lot to do with where we are in our consciousness collectively as a human family. And as a family of beings beyond just the earth also, which we'll talk more about today with Alan. But keep in mind, you see people, what do they do with these changes that are going on inside and in the world? People are meditating more, as they did back in the 60s and 70s. People are taking psychedelics more, as they did back in the 60s and 70s. And it's happening. Young people I talk with, ayahuasca is a new one. But people are still doing LSD and mushrooms. And now, of course, Molly or MDMA is something that people are using often also, which was not available back in the 60s and 70s. I'm not saying that that's what people need in order to evolve, but it's helping them to make breakthroughs of the walls that sometimes are in our hearts and our minds that stop us from moving to the next level, keep us stuck. And remember, the system that we live in, both America and the world, keeps people stuck in an old reality, tries to program human beings to fit into that reality. And as people are evolving now, they are unsatisfied with that old reality. And that's part of the motivation to go to the new realms, to go to the new dimensions, is to get out from under the stuck places that the programmed world has put on us as humans, or we have taken in. It's up to us to have independent minds, to allow ourselves to wake up and not be controlled by all that. You know how it all controls you? Fear. So when you get involved, the economy is in trouble, war is breaking out. It's not what you want to be controlled by. You want to start realizing that you are a part of something really important, something much bigger. And that's the evolution of our species, the evolution of life, period. Transformation, evolution, revolution is what's happening. So how about let's take it to today. We just got through a pretty powerful eclipse season. Can you all feel now things are kind of somewhat not as intense, at least, as they were then? And even though you may not have everything all figured out, like, oh God, I know exactly what that was all about, don't worry about that. Let that come to you. You just know now that things were shaking up during that time period, and the clarity around what it meant, both for you individually and for us collectively and for us as a country, that will come to us as we go. So the second eclipse was not too long ago. You know, what's today? Today's the 19th. That one was on the 8th on election day. Oh, yes, remember, it was on election day. People say, big deal, the eclipse on election day. What happened? Everything kind of stayed the same, politically speaking. No, a lot's going on politically. I don't want to get too much into that, get people into thinking about it too much, but the Trump people, the ones who were picked by Trump to run, a good portion of those people actually lost. And I'm not really a Democrat or a Republican per se. I like to think of myself as an independent thinker, neither one. I do know that the Trump, whatever we want to call it, Trump fiasco, Trump time, Trump person, certainly nothing I resonate with. I know a lot of you don't either. Some of you might, and that's okay. Remember, the age of Aquarius started winter solstice 2020. Winter solstice 2020, when Jupiter went conjunct Saturn at 0+ degrees of Aquarius. A really obvious symbol to me who's been doing this for a long time, that we're moving into the age of Aquarius. Pluto, starting next year, will move into Aquarius also. That can only happen once every 250 years or so. It's going to be important. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for about 20 years, so about 2043 or so. And that's going to clean out a lot of what's in the way, because Pluto's a guardian of the underworld. It cleans out things that need to be cleaned out so we can not be stuck in whatever area it is and we can move forward. So Pluto will be clearing out whatever keeps us stuck in our consciousness and in our world, keeps us stuck from moving into that age of Aquarius more fully. But we're already there. We're already moved into it. We were on the cusp way back in 1781 when its ruling planet Uranus was discovered. And the American and French revolutions were going on. It has a lot to do with what Uranus means. Remember, when a planet is discovered, what's going on the Earth at that time has a lot to do with the meaning for Earthlings of what that discovery is. So Uranus was an important cusp moment. Then, in my estimation, 2020, that's when the age of Aquarius actually began. And like I said, when Pluto gets into Aquarius, that's going to be a lot of really deep work in all of us, in our consciousness, to clear out what's in the way. Because remember, one of the main things about age of Aquarius, and this is on all levels, not just as far as cultures or countries in the world, diversity within unity. That's what the movement is toward. Diversity within unity. So part of that diversity means each one of us, each entity, respects and is respected for its distinct, unique individualism. And from that place, everybody honored for their own distinct, unique individual. From that place, we find unity. From that place, we find connection and unity. This is done inside you too. When I do my astrological work for people, I kind of do it by each planet in each sign is a different part or a different face of who that person is. And so inside yourself too, you say, this part of myself I honor, this part of myself I honor. It's so easy not to do that, because when you're a kid growing up, you're judged for certain parts of who you are, because it doesn't fit into the family structure, it doesn't fit into the societal structure. And so you push it like a black sheep in your inner family off to the side, and actually feel shame sometimes when that part of yourself is going to come up in the real world. So the work that I do is part of a healing, the inner family, so that all different pieces of who you are honored and made into the oneness of who you are. That's important now. So with whatever it is that we're getting involved in, whether it's countries in the world, cultures, religions, inside ourselves in a little family, a community, a club that we've joined, it's important that we get more and more into the consciousness of diversity within unity. Keep that in mind, because it comes up in a lot of different ways in our life, in our world. People aren't that people can be judgmental about people's individuality. Now, it's true, you're not going to like everybody necessarily. You're not going to want to be with everybody necessarily, but to respect them for their individuality that's different from yours is important. And then the unity comes from doing your best to have empathy for that person. Really put yourself in their shoes of where they're at. Not that you want to be like them, or maybe you don't even like them, like I said, but you do learn to have empathy for who they are. And from that place, we get closer and closer to unity, the more we have empathy for one another. So, eclipse season is over. And right now we're at the dark of the moon. Alan will be on in about 5 minutes, by the way, everybody. We're at the dark of the moon because we're in the waning moon. We're in the fourth quarter moon. The actual new moon is on the 23rd. It's going to be a really strong new moon. It's at 1 degree of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius' ruling planet, Jupiter, will be changing directions to direct that day. Like I've mentioned many times on the show before, when a planet is changing directions, that's when its energy is the strongest. And that's when its influence is the strongest, when it's changing directions. So on the 23rd, you're going to have that uplifting energy of Sagittarius and of Jupiter all together. And you've got 3 other planets that are going to be in Sagittarius too. So it's important to know that things will be uplifting and expanding. People will want to do things that are adventurous, perhaps, or at least get involved in things that are inspirational or inspire others. But remember what also happens at these kind of times where there's a strong Jupiter or Sagittarius. There's a desire to have adventurism, sometimes to be impulsive and you're so excited to leap into things that maybe looking back you shouldn't have leaped into. But then again, maybe it's the Fool card in tarot. You needed to leap into something that is questionable to leap into. But as far as things go on in the world, a lot of things are teetering, stuck, people not moving forward. So a lot of things could be pushed forward around that time, 23rd of November at the new moon. And remember, starting at that time, pretty much the eclipse season will be over at that new moon. But the fallout, the ramifications of what that new moon meant in the first place or means will come out. You'll see more things come out afterwards that pertain to what happened energetically during the actual eclipse season. Don't be fooled by the economy, looking like it's bouncing back through the stock market. It's not going to be for long. In order to get to this place we need to get to in the world, there has to be the shakeup. There has to be the bring down of the system as it was, so that it can be more coordinated and connected to and resonant with the consciousness of the age of Aquarius. Because the consciousness of the age of Aquarius is going to get stronger and stronger as we go, which means things that are not resonant with the age of Aquarius consciousness are going to get pushed out of the way. And you know that when things are dying, oftentimes they scream loudly that they're not going to. So that old system, just like back in the 60s and 70s, is going to fight like hell to keep going. I remember when Nixon turned in his resignation, and a lot of us said, wow, the world is really changing fast and the system is coming down. It didn't come totally down, did it? But it came down enough to let in some all new energies around fairness toward women, toward African Americans, LGBTQ people. That was a big part of what the 60s were. And of course, that's going on now again. Everything wants to move to the next level of social justice as we move to this very powerful time of moving into the age of Aquarius more fully. So we're going to have Alan on in just about 5 minutes. Alan, if you're listening in, I'm going to have you in just about 5 minutes. I'm finishing up what I wanted to talk about today. So as all these things are going on in the world, out in the world, you want to concentrate on your new world. You want to concentrate on how you start seeing the synchronicities and the signs and symbols, your heart openings, your mind waking up to new ways of being. That's happening now for you, and it's going to continue to happen. So after that new moon, then we get toward winter solstice. So keep in mind, as I started to say before, we're at the darkening of the moon, but we're also at the darkening of the sun until the turning point at winter solstice. When we're at the darkest day of the year, then it's turning to light more and more every day, going into spring when they're equal, summer when light is at its greatest. So you can see the darkening of things more and more as this year goes on. So remember, you'll get a temporary reprieve at that new moon, and the holiday season for a lot of people is exciting, but things are darkening, especially around the sun until the winter solstice. Next year is going to start out with a bit of a bang. Mars is going to go direct on January 12th, and Uranus will go direct on January 22nd. Then Jupiter also goes back into Aries at the end of December. So Jupiter in Aries and Mars direct, Uranus direct, and things are moving forward. Then we have a question mark for February of next year, when the thing I've been talking about for a long time, about 28 degrees of fixed signs. I saw the messages in 2017 at the solar eclipse new moon, when Trump was strutting with Kim Jong-un, and when there was the white supremacy movement in Charlottesville, Virginia. And so that 28 degrees of fixed signs will be triggered in February when Saturn gets up to that place. So you can expect a lot of change, a lot of movement, a lot of breakdown of the old world, a lot of opening up of more and more consciousness for all of us into the new world. I got Alan coming on in just about 2 minutes now. Let me segue into that by mentioning Chiron. Consciousness moving into new dimensions. We talked about that, whether you're meditating often enough for that to happen. Things are happening naturally for your consciousness to expand. You're using psychedelic drugs. We're all moving into the expansion of consciousness into new dimensions beyond the three-dimensional dimension. That's the everyday dimension we're all in. 3 dimensions. Height, length, width. 3 dimensions, the physical world. Chiron was discovered in 1977. In 1977, the movie, in 1977, let Alan know you have to get your camera on, Alan. That's a good idea. I'm going to get you on in just about a minute. In 1977, Chiron was discovered. 1977, Chiron was discovered. And you always got to look at what's going on the Earth at the same time that something's being discovered. When Chiron was discovered, Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out. A whole new kind of movie about ETs, about aliens, came out at that time. Right? It was about them coming down here and being friends. Lights were shining and sounds were being made, and the human family was being greeted by those from out there. 1977. Chiron sits in between Saturn, the old world, and Uranus. Remember Uranus, 1781? Finally, we decided on the cusp of the new age. Chiron sits in between Saturn, the old world, and Chiron, the new world. Not just a mere coincidence that movie came out that year. Chiron is the bridge between the three-dimensional reality and the other realities, the other dimensions. It's the bridge. People are going way out to the new consciousness. Great. You want to stay connected to the old at the same time. Otherwise, you can't have any influence on it at all. Some people, the opposite. They're mired into the old consciousness. You're not going to grow and evolve doing that. Chiron is the bridge. Chiron is the bridge. And the myth of Chiron, and Alan's coming on in a minute now, the myth of Chiron. Chiron was an immortal who taught human family. And Prometheus, at the same time that this teaching was going on, was given, this is the myth, was given the fire. The gods gave Prometheus fire to bring to humans, meaning our own individuality, our own strength and power, that we weren't going to be reliant on the kings and queens and the gods for our own well-being. Fire was being delivered to us. Zeus grabbed the king of the gods. Zeus grabbed him, tied him up. A hawk or some kind of bird was at his liver every day, stopping Prometheus from getting the fire to the humans. What did Chiron do? Chiron says, I'll give up my immortality. I will give up my immortality if you release Prometheus. I'll give up my immortality and be tied up myself. That's what Chiron did. Is he the bridge between the gods and the heavens on the one hand, and the everyday human story on the other hand? Higher and lower consciousness? Indeed. Chiron, the myth, fits where Chiron sits in the heavens. Let's bring on Mr. Alan now. We can talk more about all this. Alan, are you there? Alan, come on, buddy.
Leo, do you hear me? Leo.
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, Alan.
Hey,
Cannot
Leo.
see you, but I can hear you well.
My camera's not going on, though. Do you want my camera?
If you can do it, yeah.
I don't know why it's letting me turn on. Maybe you have to turn on for me. Make sure it's probably connected.
It's got to be on your end because Deborah just got on and she just put it on from her end. I don't. There's nothing I do on this end. Let me see if
it takes a accessory camera here.
Okay. If not, at least I can hear you, Alan. At least I can hear you if you can't do it.
Hear me. Let me see. Is there a camera board here? Let me just see if there's. Oh, there. Oh, there it is.
There he is. Hey.
All right.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Alan.
Hey, yes. Anyway, yeah, I really like your analysis of the Aquarian age we're moving into.
Thank you.
Because Chiron was, it was a kind of, when it was discovered, every planet or astronomical object influences our consciousness. It adds to us. So the discovery of Chiron was a kind of influence that added to the human field, right?
Exactly. And how do you like the fact that Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out that same year? Not just a mere coincidence.
No coincidence at all. And I wonder where Chiron intersects Spielberg's chart. That would be interesting to see, wouldn't it?
Oh, that's a good idea. I will work on that. That's right.
Yeah, because so you think Chirons are related to the ETs somehow?
Somehow it's our ability to bridge 3D consciousness with the realms out there, which would mean the ETs. Yes.
I think that's actually what my book is about, bridging consciousness,
Very much so. I've read it.
You've read my book. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I love your book. Of course.
What did you like about it? Tell me.
First of all, you'll remember the time that I got the book was when you were here in Sedona giving a talk and also bringing on a whole lot of people that were well versed in the ET world. And that's when I was first introduced to you in the first place. And of course, since then, I'm actually teaching a class at LightNet, which is a class that you taught me. Enlightenment.
Right.
I'm making
Wasn't that
contact.
wasn't that a fun class we did?
Oh my
Remote
God, yes.
other planets, other worlds, other dimensions. Yes, it was really, really fun. So,
So in answer
yeah.
to your question, what I like about it the most is that it's awakening people to look at their world, the universe in all new ways, and realizing, yeah, there's others everywhere, but that's not the purpose of your book, even though that's a big part of it. It's more about, consciousness and how our consciousness is evolving as humans.
And it's about who we are, our capacities to evolve as humans. Yes.
Say more about that, Alan.
Well, we've been so dumbed down that we don't even know our true potential. And we, as you found out, and you're probably aware of it anyway, that our minds are non-local. They're not localized to this body. Yes, we're being receiving thoughts in the body, but the aspect of the mind is outside, beyond the body. The body's inside the mind, actually, as opposed to the mind inside the body.
Right. So our brains are just like receivers of
Receivers and
consciousness.
senders. We're sending and receiving.
Yeah.
They're tools that the soul or the consciousness uses to have experience in this 3D world, but who we are is not confined to the 3D world. Basically, that's sort of what I'm saying. And remote viewing and maybe astrology makes that evident that there's something more going on here. I mean, how does anyone explain astrology except through energetics, right?
That is right.
Not physical. It's non-physical, the influences.
That's
I mean,
exactly right.
and so I think when people start to understand this, we start to build a new world, new education, new ways of perceiving reality. We start to use consciousness as an application as opposed to just a medium that we're sitting in, but we can apply who we are and the capabilities we have to explore other worlds, other dimensions, other realities, new realities. Yes.
Do you believe that? Yeah, new realities. I know that's your that's your website. People tell
Yeah,
everybody newrealities.com.
yes, exactly. But do I believe what we're going to ask?
Do you believe that? Do you believe that some of us, or most of us, are partly from the stars ourselves and partly from the earth?
Actually, I believe we're all from the stars. Really, we're all multidimensional. Yeah, I mean, some of us have had more Earth lives. Some of us have had other star systems live, but we've had billion. I mean, each moment. I mean, we've had millions of lives on millions of dimensions, and it's really all one life in different forms. So to say, I don't think we're from anywhere. I think we're from everywhere. So it's sort of like that. So it's like, does that make sense?
Yes. You have to attend to something there? You okay?
Sorry, someone's leaving. Okay, yes. Okay, I'm with you.
Good, good. So
tell me though,
yeah,
okay, I was just going to ask you,
yeah,
where does because you're an astrologer, I think Aquarius, the age we're coming into, or maybe we're into, and it's rulership by Uranus, is the planet of ET contact. So when does that officially begin, if there is a moment of transition to
yeah.
that?
I was mentioning it before. You probably didn't come on yet, but
Yeah.
Winter solstice 2020 is when it actually began.
Oh.
Jupiter was conjunct Saturn in Aquarius at that time. The cusp of the age came in when Uranus was discovered in 1781. Yes. But the actual new age, even though you look around, you say, wow, look at the things going on this earth. How could the consciousness on a deeper level is at that new place? Many of us are at that new consciousness. But the old world still has to go through its dying phases in order for the new world to get stronger and stronger. Alan asked this question. Of course, Alan is an Aquarian.
Yes.
Sun in Aquarius. He knows that
I
world.
have an Aquarian with a stellum of my sun is 1 degree. I think Chiron is 3 degrees. Mercury is 5 degrees in Aquarius in the 11th house. You know,
which is the Aquarius house for those listening. Yes.
And there's a direct opposition between Uranus and my sun. So that polarity of Uranus sun in those Aquarian Leo houses, I think makes me even more Aquarian.
Without a doubt. Oh, without a doubt.
And you know where where it's in my midheaven? You know where my midheaven is?
I think it's Sagittarius, but I don't remember right now.
Galactic
I think so.
center, 27.5 degrees Sagittarius.
Yeah.
That does connect me.
This next new moon coming up is going to be in Aquarius, in Sagittarius, 1 degree of Sagittarius, and Jupiter will be changing directions on the same day. So that means we're going to have a big burst of that Jupiterian expansive type energy. The good part is,
what day is that new moon?
23rd. So I think that's next Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving.
The 23rd is the new moon in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Oh, right before Thanksgiving, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Gary Watson says, man, we are far from being alone. Simple math proven its probability alone. I have experienced them. Much love. Much love. Yes. Yes. Nice.
We just got that on the chat. Good.
I just see that. But people watching us, where are they watching this on?
Well, they're watching us from YouTube. They're watching us from the Oneness Network. They're watching us from Facebook. I think Instagram too. A few different places.
But, you know, I'm really happy we became friends because of the remote viewing class. And I think you understand. I mean, I think you were aware of it anyway. But if we could if everyone was aware of what we were capable of, wouldn't that change the world? Wouldn't that just completely blow people away?
Without a doubt. I mean, the system, the world that we're brought up in, dumbs us down as much as it can. That way it can keep control over the citizens. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the more people break away from that, open up their minds and hearts to new realities.
Ding. The secret word.
The better we are.
That is what I'm trying to say here. So, I mean, and the new realities being at the forefront, this whole ET question, you know, I'm just so consumed with it. I mean, I'm consumed with many aspects of it. First, how can these beings, imagine you're home at night, you're alone, or maybe you're with a partner, the doors are locked, the windows are shut, you're in a nice neighborhood, you're sleeping quietly, and then suddenly there's a being in the room. I mean, just that alone freaks people out. It's like they can't even deal with it beyond anything beyond that moment because it's so against. So there's no way to make sense of that within the old way of thinking. That's not possible. That's why we do have locks on the doors. That's why, because we don't want that. And there it is, blowing everything away that the security, the safety, the predictability. So it's not about getting used to that, but it's learning to realize that what we thought was safe, secure, and predictable is an illusion. And it's we have to learn that maybe we're never alone. We have to kind of shift our way of reflecting upon ourselves. You know, this is me, this is my private life. I'm not, and maybe these beings are monitoring us and watching us, and you know, there's so much we have to start to investigate what there is here so we can transform into this next dimensional reality that I think we are accelerating towards.
This is important what you're saying. It's like Back when I interviewed Dr. John Mack years ago, and he mentioned about being taken away, abducted,
Yeah.
people being abducted and being taken away. You and I talked about it last time, but it's like that privacy you're talking about. It's like people have to get used to, like, that's something that it's not coming in the future. That closed in privacy.
Exactly. It's not only not coming, the kind of hiding we do of
Yeah.
our thoughts, and imagine if everything was known to everyone.
Yeah.
We'd have to live more honestly, more openly. And in a sense, I feel everything is known to everyone. They're just not conscious of what we do know. Like, you can tell if someone's lying. You can tell if someone, but we like to give people the benefit. Oh, they're not. But trust your intuition. Trust your feelings.
You also
And
have to trust the universe too, to be
right.
more open to this. So how about that then? A lot of people would have a hard time with this trust we're talking about, that everyone, we can be heard, whatever, listen to, people know our
Right.
thoughts, because they think that what's out there is not all good. So how do you get yourself inside yourself to be that kind of trusting when some people believe that there's like evil influences in the universe?
Well, I don't know about that. I think there are lower levels. I think not to make a judgment, but if anyone drinks a lot of alcohol, they are opening themselves up there
It's the
to
truth.
spirit. They call it spirits for a reason. It's like, and I can't even, I'm not saying I'm good or not. I can't even have one sip. I just feel, maybe it's the psychological thing, but I can't. One sip of alcohol makes me feel really disconnected, I have to
Has it
say.
always been that way?
Yeah, I've tried alcohol, but maybe a little wine. I think I had a couple of years ago. Well, I said that feels okay. That feels like, but I don't like how it tastes, or alcohol in general. I don't like how it tastes. I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't like how it makes me feel the day after. So why would
Yeah.
I do that? To loosen up? I feel I'm already sort of relaxed. What?
Yes, you are, Al. You are already
Really, but
relaxed.
why isn't everyone relaxed?
Well, that's the question.
Because they're conditioned not to be. They have to make enough money to pay the job, to feed the family, because we're put under so much stress in
That's
this
right.
culture. We don't even have time to relax into the pure nature of our being.
And it creates fear. And fear is what stops people from opening up and trusting.
Exactly. But what is the fear about, really? You said, why do people have to fear about their mind, or yeah, no more secrets? But what do they have to fear about not having secrets? Like, what are people hiding? Maybe their
Yeah, well,
taxes.
that's true.
What are people hiding?
Well, that's exactly hitting the nail on the head. What is it that they're hiding? So, for instance, the taxes, yeah, that could be one thing. Or maybe people
I
are
think
afraid that someone's going to break into their home and steal whatever they've got sitting in their home.
people are hiding more their shame and their guilt. That's really what people are hiding. And I say, if that exists, of course, it's getting to more psychology. But if that
Yeah,
exists, then share it. Actually, look at that, share it, so you don't have to carry the burden of guilt and shame, because those are things that we impose on ourselves, and they're just ideas. But I think that's really what people hide.
well,
They're
religion had a lot to do with us feeling that way, the guilt and the
right.
shame.
Well, religion, I don't think, has a place when everyone knows their divinity.
I
You
agree.
know, it's I think that's part of the change. We don't need isms. Like, someone was telling me about being a Buddhist recently, and they couldn't sleep in a house that had a woman in it. It's like, not even if the woman
Wow,
wasn't.
wow.
It's like, it's just dogma, and it's ideas, and it's belief system. But not only that, and there's nothing wrong with Buddhism and Buddhists and practicing, but the rules. Someone said that religion was the death of morality. We think religion is morality, but I think
I agree.
innately people know what's good. Innately, it's nothing to do with religion. They know if they're um, coveting their neighbor's wife or something like that. But there's nothing wrong with it.
I totally agree with you.
But
And all it did is separate us, the good and the bad, the evil and the good people. It's just, that's part of what problem in the world is like this sense that some people are better than others, and religion had some hand in that. So did the governments.
of course, religion, races, countries, nationalities, it's all an ism. And Krishnamurti, he said something really interesting. He said, when you call yourself a Christian, a Jew, a Hindu, a Buddhist, that's actually an act of violence, because you are separating yourselves from everyone else and you're saying, I'm this, and because I'm this, I'm better.
That's the point. I'm better.
Let's not call ourselves anything. Yeah, what?
Well, I mean, the Age of Aquarius will have in it every distinct difference that everybody has, they honor. And from that distinct difference, we all come together as one. It's the better or worse, I believe, within that the problem is. If you're an Aquarian, you understand about the equality.
That's my whole mission, is the equality of every individual being as good on that soul level as everyone else. There are no special people, because everybody's special. There's no ordinary realities, because every moment is extraordinary.
And this is not easy, because we're all taught that our egos are very important, and that we're supposed to build those egos up so that we can be better than everybody else. And that so you've reached some success in the world and some notoriety, at least within the circle that you are known in. So you've had to wrestle with your ego. Has it been easy for you to not get into your ego? What's it been like for you?
I like my ego. I like it. It's not about not having an ego. It's just when you think you're more important, because you need an ego.
Yeah.
You need an ego to be in the world and to allow what wants to come through you to manifest. But I'm not doing all this because
that's
of
the
me.
point. That's the point. Yeah.
That's the difference between me and Donald Trump. He's doing it because he wants people to love him. And some people might love him, which is fine. But someone who's doing something without their own, greatness involved, they're just doing it because that's how they serve.
Yeah, and if you think you're worthless, you also have an ego problem the same way.
Absolutely. Yes, Gary's really active in the chat. My opinion of religion is separatism, divide, conquer, oldest trick in the book. Oh yeah, right.
We agree.
Conquer, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Gary's getting some 2 cents in today, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I think, but that's exactly right. That's why my favorite song is John Lennon's Imagine.
Oh, God. Without a doubt. Deborah's too. Yeah.
Oh, really? I mean, it's very idealistic. It's very maybe naive in a way, but I think it's also our destiny, our future, our possibility.
In the old show we had, the one that I interviewed Dr. Mack, that was our song. We played it at the beginning of every show.
Well, that's my anthem. That's the anthem for the Aquarian age.
I agree. Same here.
So I think if we can follow those principles, imagine no religion, imagine no possessions, imagine no countries. It's easy if you can't try, no hell below us, above us only sky.
Exactly.
I mean, we're here to be all we can be. And if we think we're an ego, then that ego's in the way of infinite possibilities, because we're infinite. There are no limits. My teacher used to say, don't argue for your limitations. You know who my teacher was? Did I ever talk to you about that?
No, you never did. Who?
Oh, well, the first spiritual teacher I had was Ramtha, the Enlightened One.
Oh, tell me more. Tell me more
JZ
about that.
Knight was a channel from Washington State. She channeled this 35,000-year-old Atlantean warrior who brought through a pretty amazing set of teachings back in the day, in the 80s. And that was the first moment I realized, oh, I'm greater than my ideas of myself, who I am.
How old were you?
Actually, I first met Ramtha in 1981, like in the early 80s. That
was in your 20s, I think, somewhere in there, right?
Something like that. Yeah, whenever the 80s was. I don't know. It's all just a blur. But No,
Yeah,
when
same
was
here.
30? Anyway, but anyway, that like seeing someone channel, if you've never, I mean, now everybody's a channel. Now it's like common knowledge channeling. But in the early 80s, no one knew what channeling was. And I thought,
That's right.
coming from a psychological background where if you said you were embodying this 35,000-year-old warrior from Atlantis, you'd have to be crazy. That
That's
was,
right. That's right.
or acting, or either crazy or acting, putting on a show. I mean,
I
the
think
only other possibility would be, and I'm saying it's true, but maybe perhaps this person is who they say they're doing, what they say they're doing.
exactly. I mean, a lot of people have been thrown into mental institutions called psychotic when really all they did was connect with other dimensions. I worked with Stanislav. Uh,
Rough.
thank you. Back in the 90s, and part of a group called Spiritual Emergence Group.
Right.
And we would work with people who were deemed psychotic
Right.
and work with them as spiritual emergence, not psychosis. So a lot of people got lost because of that.
Groff's group is what opened John Mack up to these other realities. It was through Groff and the holotrophic breath work that he
Yeah.
realized. Right? Did you know Mack from those groups, the Groff groups?
No, I did. I knew him from the book, and I had the show, and I just
Oh,
found
did
him.
you know he
What
was
happened?
interested in Groff? Did you know that was?
No, I'm surprised. I did not know that.
Yeah, that was his early awakening of the idea that there are these other realities. And yeah, and Groff got into it because LSD was illegal. He was part of those
Right.
early LSD adventurers and
Exactly.
found another way through breath work to alter states of consciousness, which really does alter your state of consciousness. I mean, have you done I guess you've done it, right? Rebirthing.
I've done a lot of those. Yeah. Yep.
It's
Mostly back in the 90s. Mostly back in the 90s.
very powerful.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And so, William James, who was the father of American psychology, also was the founder of the Psychical Institute about, mediumship and psychic activity. So he knew, and he was actually the person who coined the term stream of consciousness. So in the
Oh,
early 1900s, there was this whole awakening happening, through the spiritualist movement, the Theosophical Society. I mean, Madame Blavatsky kind of is
mhm.
the godmother of the new age. Everything we're talking about now, channeling the masters and the divine feminine and automatic writing and messages, it's all happened with Blavatsky's help. I mean, Isis Unveiled was the unveiling of the divine feminine in the 1890s, which I think really was the kind of dawning of the age of Aquarius there. I
Oh,
mean,
that's interesting. Say more about that, Alan.
well, modernity really began in the 1890s. We had the light, electric light, the telephone.
Yes.
We had, I mean, a little later, we had radios come in. We had X-rays in 1895. I think 1890s was a real pivotal point for the modern world. And it was at that time more people were leaving rural areas and moving into the city. The kind of framework, there was the cafe societies that began in Paris, or earlier than that, in the 1850s, really.
Do you
But
know
the
what happened
cafe
planetarily? Do you know what happened planetarily then?
in the
Neptune conjunct Pluto, which happens once every 500 years.
wait, what conjunct Pluto
Neptune conjunct Pluto,
in the
which,
1890s?
yes, early 1890s. And that can only happen once every 500 years. So that was a big, just like you're saying, that was a huge movement planetarily
There
at that
was
time.
the spiritualist movement, and in cities like Berlin, there was a huge alchemical activity. There was spiritualism. They didn't call it channeling. They called it mediumship. And in New York and Paris and London and Berlin, all the major cities had these, collected groups of metaphysics at the time, and maybe it was because of that Neptune conjunct Pluto, that was awakening, and it was the first time we were consciously aware of the Neptune Pluto conjunction, right?
That is correct. Well, no, Pluto, we didn't even know Pluto yet. Pluto was 1930, but we knew
Oh,
Neptune from 1846,
Neptune was 1846. When was Uranus?
1781.
Oh, 1781. That's interesting. That was around the age of the Enlightenment, they called it.
That and the Revolution of America and the Revolution of France.
Hmm. It was a revolutionary time. Uranus. So now Uranus is where now these days?
You mean where is it in the zodiac?
Yeah.
Uranus is in Taurus.
Oh, my moon's in Taurus.
Yeah, I do know that. Yes, moon's in Taurus.
So
So
when
this is
Uranus goes over your moon, what does that mean?
well, it means that you're kind of getting, especially if it's Taurus, you're
Yeah.
kind of getting taken out of the fixed Earth way of looking at things and opening your mind up to all new ways of looking. You're being awakened to a new way of looking at things.
Uh-huh. Wow. So maybe you want to do, every year I do a prediction show with different astrologers and visionaries, like around the beginning of the year. Do you want to come on my
Oh,
show?
that would be fun. I would love to do that.
Chart something for 2023 and
I
give a
would
kind of,
very much love to do that.
okay.
That would be
I'll
great.
put you on my list of doing that. Yes, yes, yes.
Sounds good.
Because it's always nice to get different comparisons from different people about what's going. So you really feel this is a new time, right? That the Aquarian age is upon us, and it's it's picking up in speed.
Exactly. Don't you think that the fact that we're coming to the edge on something like people are talking about nuclear weapons and things like that, don't you think that the coming of the ETs and that kind of talk from humans kind of come together, that they're going to want to show themselves more and more?
Well, yeah, I think they're very upset that we're using nuclear weapons. Of course,
Yeah,
the first UFO kind of landings or put down of craft were right around Roswell. And Roswell, that Roswell Air Force team, it was before an Air Force existed, but they were stationed in Roswell. Those are the people that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, was stationed in Roswell.
oh, that's right, because New Mexico had a lot of that kind of action going on.
Yeah, the first atomic bombs were set off at
Yeah, that's
missile place in New Mexico.
that's right.
And so, actually, I saw a UFO in New Mexico once. So
You did. Where were you? Where were you?
I was outside of Santa Fe at the train
Yeah,
station in Lamy, Lamy.
Lamy, sure, I know
And
Lamy.
you do? Yeah.
Yeah,
I lived
Deborah
in
and I
Santa
lived in
Fe
Santa
before.
Fe. Deborah and I lived in Santa Fe. You lived in Santa Fe
Lived in
too?
Santa Fe. We
What years
talked
were you
about
there?
it.
We did.
I
What
was there
years?
from 90 to 93, 99, 192, like 4 years. Were you there in the 90s?
There from 95 to 2003, 2004.
We just missed each other. I was
Yeah,
in
we did.
acupuncture school there. I was So anyway, I'm outside. My friend has this kind of earthship looking house. You know the earthships?
Oh, yeah. In Taos, they have a whole bunch of those.
Yeah. Well, there's one that they were living in Lamy, but there was this cloud in the sky that looked like a finger pointing up, and my friends all said, "Oh, look, there's this cloud that looks like a finger." And I was looking the other way, and I thought they were just kidding around. And then they said, "Oh, look, a light." And I thought they were joking. So I slowly turned around. I looked at the light, and then the light disappeared right after
Yeah.
And so that was kind of strange. But, there are more and more sightings all the time around the world, I mean, this is an acceleration that we're moving into. I think it may have to do with the Aquarian, Jupiter, Pluto. Wait, I have to line up there. So,
You'll come back again, Alan?
oh, anytime. I'm going to be, I think, in Sedona. I could be there as early as January or February. So I'll be there.
We'll hook up too. That'd be great.
Yes, in person.
I would like that.
Yeah, and I'll let you know about the New Year's show with the predictions for 2023, okay?
I very much want to do that. Yeah. Thanks, Alan. we're
Stay in
gonna bring
touch
Deborah on now with the meditation. You
with a
want?
friend. Yes,
Yeah,
from
Deborah,
Paula.
will you give us a meditation, Deb?
Yes, I will. So it was
Hi, Deborah.
enjoyable. It was enjoyable listening to both of you. And one thing we have in common is we all have something at 27 degrees of Sagittarius at the galactic center.
At the
My
center of the gap. Very good. That's right.
because my Mercury is 27 degrees of
Yeah,
Sagittarius, and then your midheaven and Leo South Node.
Wow.
that's
So we
right.
have that connection to
Center of the galaxy. Right on.
the
Oh, your
galactic.
South Node and my midheaven. That's interesting. And the Mercury. We
My
should all go into business together.
That's right. Monkey business. Yes.
Yes, monkey business. So yeah, it was interesting
Right.
listening to everyone. So I was wondering, what meditation would most serve, and
Yeah.
the song Imagine is also like my favorite all-time
Yes.
song.
Yes.
It is. It is.
And John Lennon was a Libra with Moon in Aquarius, which
Oh,
is
was he
interesting.
he had his moon in Aquarius?
Mhm.
He
Oh,
was a
Yeah.
Libra with Moon in Aquarius.
That's
that
right.
explains why I liked him. What degree you think was his moon?
I'm not sure, but he
His moon,
sure
his
had the
moon,
vision.
his moon was in late Aquarius, like 26,
Interesting.
27 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah. So, what I thought today for this meditation, just really brief because we only have a few minutes left, is to just have us imagine, to just tune into
Great.
the new world and what are our visions Venus is in Sagittarius. I think Mercury's in Sagittarius now. And
Yes,
then
it
we have
is.
Sagittarius new moon.
Mhm.
And I know, Alan, you have a lot of Sagittarius, and I'm a multiple Sagittarius.
Well,
So this,
I have Mars and Saturn conjunct in early Sagittarius at 5 or 6 degrees. My
yes,
so
yes, and I
It's right
have
by Deborah's son.
a sun rising Mercury and Saturn in Sagittarius. So along the lines of Sagittarius, I feel Sagittarius has a lot to do with vision.
Mhm.
So let
It
us
does.
just do a brief meditation
Good.
to imagine and the new vision for the new world, the new earth, the
yeah,
Aquarian age.
Sounds
And
good.
yes.
Deb.
what do we want to see? What do we want to bring in? Because we're co-creators of this new reality. So
New
I'm going to just
realities.
play the bowl for a moment. So if we could all just go into our heart centers right now, which is actually the place within us that is the bridge between heaven, the higher realms, and the earth. And becoming aware as we find ourselves in our heart centers of the energy of the earth beneath us and all the different dimensions of the earth. And then feeling the vast universe above us and all the multidimensional realities of the universe. This vast universe we are all a part of. And then let us feel the energies of the new age of Aquarius coming in, that new consciousness that we've been talking about today. And just allow yourself to see your new visions for this new earth that we are co-creating together as we are creator beings with so much potential. And let us just seed those new visions. Just like the song Imagine that brought in those visions years ago. What do you imagine for the new earth, the new age of Aquarius? And just imagine yourself planting those seeds, those visions, with all your heart and love And after we join together today and at the new moon of Sagittarius, as Jupiter goes direct within minutes that day on Wednesday, let us continue to work with and bring in our visions and seed those visions in our lives, in our relationships. And those visions of oneness and unity. And I know we're over time now, so
We are. I've got to say goodbye to everybody. Alan, thank you so much for being on today.
Great to see you both. Thank you.
Send you my love, Alan, and I'll talk to you soon.
thank you
Definitely.
both.
Thank you,
Bye.
Leo.
Much love, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.